Hey everyone, it's Bethany from Beth and Books, and it's haul time! First of all, appreciate the eyeliner. It took me too long this morning to not film this video. Also, if the lighting is a bit funny, it's literally been thundering and lightning all week, and I've been wanting to film this for you all, so we're just gonna roll with it. What do I have? Well, I have a bag of books. Now, I just really quickly want to preface this by saying I'm currently in the middle of slowly getting rid of pretty much every book I read that isn't worth a reread, and I'm just trying to be a lot more conscious and mindful of my book collection. I do not at all intend to spread any sort of message that to be a reader you need to own a ton of books. That is not the message at all. These are all secondhand. There was a massive book sale on and I limited myself to only one bag, and that's what I've got here and what I'm going to share with you all. I'm so excited. Let's just dive right in. So, we have, I did manage to grab them all out at the same time. I have not touched this since I put them away in the shop. These are 3 Dan Brown books. Now, you may recall that I have the illustrated edition of both Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code, and I absolutely have loved Dan Brown books, and there's just something about them that I find quite comforting. There's definitely critique to be said in terms of there's maidens in distress being rescued by a male figure, but, you know, it's just a fictional novel about cracking clues. And so I've managed to find the rest of the Robert Langdon series. Does it annoy me that they're all the different edition? To be honest, not really. Not really. So anyway, the ones I have here, and I don't think this is necessarily in order, but we've got Inferno, Origin, and The Lost Symbol. So those are all going with the rest of my Dan Brown collection. Next up is Patrick Ness's release, and I've just realised it's got a little tag on the back. Let's carefully peel that off. Now, Patrick Ness is the author who wrote The Knife of Never Letting Me Go. He also... Wait, no it's not. Yes it is. I got myself confused with Neil Shusterman for a second in my head. And The Knife of Never Letting Go is possibly some of his more famous works. I also have recently read Something Deep, Challenger Deep, which I really enjoyed, and so when I saw this I wanted to pick it up. It is a beautiful hardcover edition, and on the back it simply mysteriously says, "Sometimes the end of the world is the start of your life." It's a paranormal novel where our main character Adam is basically in this town, and he kind of thinks it's going to be a normal summer until, here comes the light. Oh my. We are just going to angle ourselves into this corner. Holy. Okay, there we go. Carrying on. So this is about Adam. He lives in a town. He thinks his summer is... The light literally just disappeared again. Oh well, this is about Adam. He's in a town. I feel like I've said that 5 times already. And it's paranormal because there's a ghost. A ghost rises up from a lake of some sort, but basically the ghost leaves a trail of destruction in its path, and somehow, of course, our main character Adam gets caught up in that. Let's have a look at the hardcover under the dust jacket for the first time together. Oh, okay. It's just, you know, standard, but interestingly it doesn't have the title embossed. Can we see that? Instead it says, "Today everything changes." Reaching into the bag, Stephen King. You can see my King collection up here. I'm currently reading The Shining. It's going really well, by the way, and Under the Dome is a novel of his that has intrigued me for the longest time, ever since I saw it on TV. And it was a TV series, and I don't remember much of it, but I remember like the vibe of it, the gist of it, and that as a kid I really wanted to stay up watching it, but it was too late, too adult. I don't know, I wasn't able to finish watching it. So the book has always intrigued me. It's massive, but the subject of it really sounds like something I wouldn't mind reading how many pages? 863 pages of. If you don't know, this follows the premise of this town called Chester's Mill. Inexplicably, out of the blue, a massive dome gets put over the town, much like a snow globe encases the snowman. This dome encases Chester's Mill. And basically it becomes this political thriller in that inside the dome, they end up becoming their own political climate. We have someone who's meant to be in charge, like the FBI assigns them to try figure out, like they think there's someone on the inside who caused the dome to happen. But then there's this person who's actually more tyrannical and leads through fear and stuff. And it just sounds quite interesting. There's the mystery of how the dome got there. There's the drama of the politics. And I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of gruesomeness. I say that because in the blurb it literally says a gardener's hand is severed at the wrist, a plane explodes, somebody is chopped right in half, which, I mean, it is gruesome already. So I'm very intrigued. I'm definitely going to give it a clean though. I mean, this is the thing with secondhand books, but it does need a scrub. But that's okay. In we go. Okay. This one was on the table alongside 10 others. Sorry I didn't get any like vlog content, by the way, guys. It was really busy and I feel really uncomfortable filming. Not necessarily when people are around, but I don't want to accidentally get people and put them on the internet. You know, you wouldn't want to randomly see yourself online. And anyway, there's heaps of these. And so my eye was just drawn to it. And then I realised it's the Scallop Letter. And just, you've probably heard of that. It's a famous novel. And it was only, oh, by the way, all these books, apart from Patrick Ness, were only $3. So this was $7. Everything else was $3. So I just picked it up because it sounded really interesting, like a classic that would really help inform, like, any Scarlet Letter inspired novels, romance with the tropes of Scarlet Letters. Again, I'm a high school teacher, so reading this sort of stuff will just constantly help build up my classical knowledge of literature, which will help my students. Not that all we do is classical literature. I'm going on a work tangent. Let's not do a work tangent. It's a Friday afternoon at 20 to 4. But anyway, the Scarlet Letter. I've got it. What was I saying? So this book follows Hester. She has a child out of wedlock, so it's an illegitimate child. It's set in the 17th century, and is often regarded as one of the first texts to have a proper, like, heroine in it, in terms of Hester. Basically, she's had a child out of wedlock. Oh no, sin. Make her atone. But she refuses to share who the father is, and it kind of goes from there, is my understanding. I do want to look more into this figure because it's a man who's written a woman and actually voices women championing their own voices. So I am intrigued by what this guy's deal is. Next. Okay. Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. This is a very pretty cover. By the way, I just want to say here, let me just air it. If any of these authors, especially as I'm talking about more classical novels coming up, turn out to be problematic in terms of they were racist, sexist, any of that, I understand that that is problematic, but authors are also a product of their time a lot of the time. And I am a believer here that whilst we can critique authors' beliefs and recognise the immoral messages and harmful messages within novels, there is still value to the literature that the author provided at the time. It's insight to the time of that society was in, and obviously it's very different now. If a modern author came out with something problematic, that's a completely different conversation than if an author wrote a racist novel in a time where segregation and racism was rife. I am absolutely by no means defending harmful messages and racist slurs and homophobic hate. Right, no, we want to hate homophobes. You know what I'm saying. I just want to clear the air. That's where I stand, and if you don't like it, well, Jungle Book. The reason I preface this is I've got a feeling Rudyard Kipling had some, you know, he's got a few X's next to his name, but the Jungle Book I picked up because, first of all, I love this edition. Second of all, I have memories of watching the cartoon version of the Jungle Book, and it's just super nostalgic. Like, these characters are just implanted in my brain from my childhood, and I don't think I ever read the book, and I just simply want to read about Mowgli. So I wanted to read a book, that's why I picked it up. Let's go specifically. I want to share this one because this is a book I picked up which sounded interesting and I'd never heard of before. It's been such a long time since I've picked up a book just because it sounded good when I didn't know the author and had never heard of it. So this is The Shakespeare Secret, and it is an adult thriller mystery based around literature. See, doesn't that sound good? I feel like the best I can do is actually just read from the blurb. It summarizes it beautifully. So, a woman is left to die in a burning theatre. Another woman, drowned like Ophelia, skirt swirling in the water. A doctor has his throat slashed open on the steps of Washington's Capitol building. A deadly serial killer is on the loose, modelling his murders on Shakespeare's plays. But why is he killing? Assuming their gender, I suppose. And how can he be stopped? I read that and I put it in my bag because that sounds fascinating. Joan Nesbo, I believe, has a book called The Snowman. I've not read this, so I might be wrong. Wait, let me think. Is it that one? If I'm on the wrong path, I might just cut this out of the video. But where he... where there's a killer who also goes through and kills people based off of literature. But I haven't read that because the books based on the murders, you know, they spoil the books that they're from, and they're books that I want to read without being spoiled about the murderer and how people are killed side of things. Whereas Shakespeare, I actually don't like Shakespeare. So I don't really mind if any Shakespeare things are spoiled to me. So I'm really intrigued though, however, at the idea of a serial killer killing based off of a very famous collection of plays. Ding! Alright, the next one I have here is this amazing Hobbit edition. Can you see on that shelf? You cannot. No, you can't. I have Titus beautifully purchased this collection of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series. Let me say, by the way, I've not read any of these books, and so I was like really excited to read them. But when you open, I'm trying to get it out. Open it. I'm sure you can see the problem already. The writing is tiny, and whilst I probably could read it, I never seem to be picking them up because it's very overwhelmingly small. That's quite an oxymoron, but you know what I mean. So over time, I did find the Lord of the Rings series, again, secondhand thrifted, where the writing is just like that much more manageable to me, the size of the book. But obviously there's no Hobbit here, and this is where this comes in. Now, there was another edition that was all beautifully gilded, much like my Moby Dick edition. It didn't have a picture on the front, but like the gold spine and everything, and I almost picked that one up. However, as you probably remember from conversation where I really love the old Stephen King editions, I really loved this one because of the image on the front. There's something about it that is just so nostalgic. It's also The Hobbit's 50th anniversary edition. I don't know if that means it's worth anything. That's not why I picked it up. I literally picked it up because I just am in love with this nostalgic art style. I picked this up because it's pretty, and I really do want to read it one day. Okay, next find I'm quite stoked with, and this is it's Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. Now, if you recall, sorry to keep referencing random things, I just don't have them all here. Ever since moving, things have gone everywhere else. I had a poster with 100 books to read. Now, that poster was kind of poop. I think I've actually thrown it out. The scratchy off stuff did not work, so I do not recommend that. If I found a picture and put it up, but I do not recommend that brand. It was black with gold foiling. I don't know. It wasn't great. But this was on there, and I still want to go through that list. And War and Peace is a classic. But can you imagine this as one book? As one book, it's terrifying. I used to have one, but I unhauled it in my massive unhaul, I believe, because it was just way too big. I was never going to get around to it. But this broken up into two. This is the cover of part 1. And this is part 2. I'm not going to read the back of part 2 because no doubt there will be spoilers. Part 1. Oh, it has this smell that reminds me of my grandparents. I kind of love it, and hate it. I kind of love it. I'm also really nervous to read this book because it hugely follows the Russians, right? Like Russian Napoleon. Leo Tolstoy devoted 5 whole years shortly after his marriage portraying the Russian family life during and after the Napoleonic War. History is a massive weakness of mine, and I guess I'm concerned that reading War and Peace, I'm going to need a lot of historical knowledge, and so that's what's making me hesitant to get into it. Okay, the last 4 here all have a similar theme, and that's that they are all Jane Austen classical novels. Now, where is it? Hang on. Oh, it's up here. The first classical novel that I ever properly enjoyed was Pride and Prejudice. Therefore, for my birthday, and when my mum asked me what I wanted, I said, oh, could I have some Jane Austen novels, please? Because I was really excited at the prospect of finding a classic author whose novels I really enjoyed. The only other classic novels I've actually enjoyed are Dracula and Frankenstein. But even then, I had to study them. Whereas, Austen, Pride and Prejudice was the first book I read. That was a classic that I wasn't forced to read for education and that I liked. But my mum, bless her soul, went and got me this beautiful, there's a hair, entire collection of Jane Austen. And look how gorgeous this is. But much like The Lord of the Rings. First of all, it's blooming heavy. But I can't imagine snuggling up with this. This is like a beautiful collector's edition that I will forever cherish. But I don't think I'm going to read from it. Not anytime soon, at least. So, this lives in here. Why was I doing that so awkwardly? This lives in here. Acts as a book stopper, and I found the individual novels in a much more legible font. Hey, did you see how I did that with one hand? Ooh, skills. Okay, no, that's beyond my pay grade. Let's start at the beginning. Hair Persuasion. I actually am looking at this, feeling like I have a classic that matches. Maybe I unhold it though. This follows, what was the character's name? Anne. And at 19, she kind of gets romantically involved with this guy, but he basically has no station, no power, no wealth. And so she is persuaded to break off her relationship with him. Fast forward a few years, she somehow meets the dude's sister-in-law, brother-in-law, a relation, and her and Wentworth, which is the guy, see each other, but understandably he's salty. Can you imagine Austen listening from her place up in heaven, talking about her novels in terms of characters being salty? She'd be like, what the heck a Rooney is being talked about here? But yeah, basically you can imagine it's a good old classic romance novel. He got spurned. She's perhaps going to marry a cousin, by the way, but the times, I guess. But true love. Oh, and by the way, Wentworth is successful now. Who's a captain? I'm sorry, Austen, I just butchered that. The next one is Pride and Prejudice. I just wanted my own copy of this novel for, if I ever actually wanted to reread it, which wouldn't surprise me because I feel like Austen and her style of writing being understandable but still unfamiliar to me, I probably missed out on a lot of things, so definitely worth a reread. We then have Mansfield Park. Let me be honest, this one kind of sounds the least exciting out of all of them. We have Fanny, who's basically kind of disregarded, but she's a really kind soul. and Austen uses Fanny as a protagonist to delve into societal inequity, judgments, and critiquing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but, you know, I thought I would put it on my shelf and give it a go. Then the last one I have here is Sense and Sensibility. But by the way, look at this artwork. Isn't that so gorgeous? This was also her first book that she published, and I feel like I want to go through the Austen... Oh, there's pictures. I want to go through the Austen novels in order of publication, just so I can get a gist of like where she started, the ideas she moved through, and then where she finished. But anyway, this one in particular is about two sisters whose names are Eleanor and Marianne, and each of them kind of represent... One represents sense and one represents sensibility. What's my hand doing? Yeah. So Eleanor is Augustan detachment. I have no idea what Augustan detachment means. I'll figure it out. Whereas Marianne is a fervent disciple of the Romantic age. So basically each of them, it sounds like, learn to go from, like, if you're sense into sensibility, and if your sensibility learn a bit of sense, like they kind of learn to figure out where they lay. But yeah, that's Sense and Sensibility. Oh yeah, there's even more pictures. Oh yes. They sang together. So these are all of the books I got. I'm trying very hard not to topple it, but this Dan Brown is trying to sneak away. If you've read any of these and have any recommendations on the order I read things, that if I should read something else beforehand, if there's like any triggers that you think I should know, let me... It is literally the perfect armrest height. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy all the places you go. And if you like this, please consider leaving a cheeky like and subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next one, team. Bye bye.